Well, when Indy dropped 70 points in the first half, I'm like, wow, okay. Charlotte, are you going to play? Are you going to come to the gym to actually compete? Apparently not.
Wow. I mean, that said a lot. And then you have the Wizards and the Celtics, the later game, and it was competitive at halftime, although that first half didn't feel good it just didn't feel like what we were hoping for. The play-in was that, it's an elimination game. There's desperation. You'll see all kinds of, great performances. You saw Tatum go off in the third quarter, goes for 50, and as Evan puts in the notes, it's the most points ever in a play-in game.
23 points in the third quarter.
Most points ever in a play-in game.
There's such a long list of
great history
games
of it
to compete against.
But still, I think it almost puts a lot more pressure on tonight, Lakers-Warriors, and makes you feel like, let's hope that lives up. Because yesterday, let's be honest, it didn't live up. But Tatum did have a great performance, and in that, the Celtics move on, as I mentioned, and play the Nets. When you see Tatum go for 50 and it's Celtics history, it is postseason. I wouldn't call it playoff, but it's postseason. You understand what he does in the rankings of Celtic history is pretty impressive stuff. But I'm just curious, as we watched him and we think of the type of season the Celtics have had, how do we view Tatum at this point in his career? As a star player, but is he everything that the Celtics need to get to that level that we've been waiting for them to get to? With talents like him and Jaylen Brown, who obviously is hurt. You watch him last night. Is he just a great player? Is he a great young player? Is he a superstar that can carry a franchise? Where is he, Jay?
He's a budding superstar. He's in between a star and a superstar, in my opinion. He's going to be an MVP of the league one day. I've been saying this. I think he has top 5 talent. Is his play translating there every single night? No, not yet. But I do want to say that this has been an interesting year for him, having COVID, how he's bounced back from COVID. And this feels like this is Jayson Tatum's team. This is his team. Think about when he first came into the league, he had Kyrie and all the issues that happened with Kyrie. Obviously, there's a lot of love there. Him and Kyrie have a special relationship. Kyrie goes. A lot of early success. I think this is kind of like the first bump in the road that Jayson Tatum has experienced with the Boston Celtics, with it being his team, with all the pressure. And I think that takes a minute to own that space, to say, this is my team. Each and every day, I'm bringing that mentality to be that guy to take this team to the next level. Because between him and Jaylen Brown, those are the cornerstones of the future of your organization. And it does start with the most prolific scorer. Now, Jaylen Brown is a key because he's great defensively, but Jayson Tatum is the rocket that can catapult this team to a different degree.
He's 23 years old, so he's still very young.
Yeah, and when you're young, you try to find your way over time. I think the inconsistent play, not just with him, but as them as a whole, has certainly factored in the way people may view the Boston Celtics, in particular him, because of where he was drafted, who he is, all of the sort of things, passing on Markelle Fultz and getting him, which is the right thing to do, obviously. But when you start to look at all that, that certainly factors into his play. Much like Jay says, we loosely throw superstar, star, great all out there. I think with him, he's right in that in-between sort of star, but not a superstar, in the middle. And at some point, he's going to take off to a whole nother level. Again, like Jay said, when you have guys like Kyrie Irving in the mix that's there, you come to a team, it's not your team. Unlike a Luka in Dallas, there was nothing there. So immediately, I was drafted. This is my team. No matter what, whether it's good or bad, it all falls on my shoulders. When you're trying to find your place in Boston with other dominant players around you, you don't really have an understanding yet. You're trying to figure out, do I take the shot? Do I do this? And, so you kind of walk on eggshells to a point where last night, clearly he was the best player on the floor and he could feel that. So he took control of that.
Second half was really where they took off, and they end up winning the game big, 118-100 to move on to play the Nets. Again, the first half went, the Wizards were up 54-52. It was a 2-point game. Beal didn't play great. Clearly the hamstring was bothering him. Russell Westbrook, who we've been talking about, who's been outstanding in the second half of the season, was not that same player either, lacking something. Now, they stay alive. They will move on to play the Pacers to see if they get the 8th seed and the 76ers. But on the Tatum conversation, let's do Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, because there has been criticism of him, of the Celtics. Like we mentioned, we talked about it yesterday. The Celtics have been a disappointment this whole season. They've been through a lot, but questions about, and we said it, if they lost this game last night, do you ask, is this the end for Brad Stevens? And again, what of the young stars in Tatum and Brown? Are they ready to take that step to lead their teams to be superstars, which what you expect them to be? Tatum, after the game, did address that criticism.
I don't really get caught up in, those who think I am a superstar and those that don't. What does that really mean? I know that my teammates, I've earned their respect. I've earned the respect of the guys that I play against and the coaches. And, I believe myself, and that's all that matters.
That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Jay?
This is starting to make me a little bit angry at 6 o'clock. And I don't want this conversation to shift like, well, what is Jayson Tatum doing to elevate his team? He's having 50 in the play-in game. He's dropping 60 against San Antonio. He's dropping 44 against Golden State, 55 against Minnesota. I mean, damn. What do you need Jayson Tatum to do? It all falls on Jayson Tatum's shoulders to be the guy that elevates the Boston Celtics each and every night. And
it does. Yeah, because of what you just said. Because he's dropping, because he can give you 50 on a given night. Because he is their star player. He's their young star player. Everybody else is gone. There's no other veteran leadership on this team anymore. All the veterans that were around to take care of that when he was younger. I know he's only 23, but still, he's the guy they're all looking at. And it's Boston. Their expectations are a lot higher. Okay, you've been here enough. You've been here long enough. You've been through playoff success. Somebody's got to emerge now, and he's the guy they're looking at.
So let me ask you this. Luka, the reason why Luka is able to demand that kind of authoritative role with his team, the ball is always in his hands, right? Jayson Tatum has to get the ball. Now, there's still Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is supposed to be extremely dynamic. He's been plagued by injuries this year. You don't have Jaylen Brown. I mean, I'm not saying that this hasn't been a disappointing season. I'm not. But I'm not putting all that on the shoulders of Jayson Tatum. I'm looking at Brad Stevens. I'm looking at Danny Ainge before I look at Jayson Tatum in his 4th year, who's averaging 27 points, shooting 46% from the field. Like, who's having a crazy year, considering he's had COVID this year. Has there been struggles for him? Yes. But I don't put it on the young player and say, hey, you're the guy, just carry this franchise and get them to heights they've never been to before. Like, that does happen with the team that you're on and the coaching that you have and the GM that's in that place too now.
He shows me maturity right there in his presser. How he answered that question. That's maturity to me.
How?
Because he doesn't worry about the naysayers, the noise outside of the building. He cares about his teammates, the respect that he gets from the players in the league, the coaches, and the little Lucky Charm dude in the side of the check in the corner. Mm-hmm. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about the outside noise, which is important to have your sanity when you play professional sports. Because if you get wrapped up into the outside noise, he's got to be a superstar or he's got to carry the team and he must do it. This is the reason why he scored 50. He's 27 points a game, 46% of the field. This is what he needs. You get caught up in that, you lose your whole sight line of where you need to go. And I just like the fact that he addressed it at the level that he addressed it.
See, Alan, how many games has Marcus Smart played this year?
He's been banged up too.
48.
Yeah, and he got hurt again last night.
Kemba, 43. Mm-hmm. Okay, Robert Williams, 52. He was out for a long time. Tristan Thompson was out for a while. I mean, this team doesn't really have a bench anymore. Like, there's a lot of questions where I'm not saying, hey, Jayson Tatum, just take us there. A lot of personnel questions and injuries and things that this team has faced this year.
I get it, and I'll just leave it at this. This is, though, what we do in the NBA. When you're the best player on your team and you've been sort of like middling throughout the year, the pressure goes on you. It's, okay, well, you've got to raise your team. You've got to do it. That always comes with it. And it's not a bad thing because it means that we do respect your game. We see you as somebody that should be able to carry a franchise. You could be a star, but a franchise